last Roanoke River Lighthouse. There were multiple versions of it because they burned. Two burned and one was knocked down by an ice flow.
Ice flow.
Yeah, you could. There,
What year was that?
1880.
Eight?
No, it was already up. 1885.
Ice flow. That's so unusual, isn't
I've
it?
heard some of the old guys in town talking about their dads driving across the Sound in Model A's, where the Sound would freeze over.
We're going for a tour of the lighthouse here.
We were
Now, that looks like the one down in Manio. Has a similar design?
the designs changed.
Uh-huh.
These were prefab.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were built up in Baltimore, prefab, and they were shipped down here by barge and assembled. It only took a month from the time they set the first piling until they lit the light.
That's amazing, isn't it? They got things done quickly back in those days, didn't they?
With no power saws, no anything. This is all hand done.
Yeah.
1835. Port of Plymouth is going absolutely stupid. We're having on average 200 ships a day. You read where there's 26 sailing ships registered here, going up and down. They called it coasting trade. That would be working from Florida up to Massachusetts, hauling shingles and lumber, tobacco, cotton, going to the mills up there, bringing back manufactured goods, going to the Caribbean, taking shingles, coming back with sugar and with rum and with spices and things that you didn't have to pay tariffs out of England for. As a colony, everything that was made had to be shipped to England first and then brought back. The tobacco that was grown here, if it was going to Massachusetts, had to go to England first. Pay the tariff.
What a roundabout way.
That's tariffs. Pay the tariff to get it, ship it back, pay the tariff to bring it in the country. So the industrious guys in Plymouth were shipping tobacco to Boston and Philadelphia in boxes and crates marked fish bait.
Now, is this operational now?
It is. It is. The light comes on at dark.
Uh-huh.
That was one of my proudest things, because when I started in last May, the light wasn't on, and I started punching buttons on the timer and then got it to come on, so it's working.
And when was this one built?
This was 1866.
18 what?
It was commissioned in 1866 and opened January 1st, 1867.
And is it the same one?
This is a replica.
A replica, okay.
But it's
That's right, the other one got torn up by the ice flow.
This one burned.
Oh, burned, okay.
The next one got knocked down, it burned. The next one got knocked down by ice, and then the last one is in Edenton. It stayed in position from 1887 until 1947. They were decommissioned in 37. They sat there through the war. The kids used it here. That was their Sea Scouts. After World War II, the Sea Scouts here had a PT boat and they had a Corvette.
I would have joined them.
I do too. Not a car, but a ship Corvette.
Oh, Corvette. Oh, okay. I'm thinking about a car.
It was a cool thing to be, and that was their clubhouse. That's where they met.
I saw that picture.
Was in the lighthouse.
Yeah,
Isn't
yeah.
that great? They were sold. All the river lighthouses were sold for $10 a piece.
$10 a piece.
You had to move them.
Oh, okay.
So a gentleman at Edenton, he bought 3 of them. He owned a barge company. He sank 2 and got the final one out, which was
This one?
this one. He took it to Edenton and set it up and lived in it as a house.
Really?
Yeah. And in the late 90s, early 2000s, the town of Edenton acquired it from him. And it's in Edenton today on the waterfront. But it's the Roanoke River Lighthouse, not the Edenton Lighthouse, and it
Okay.
came from Plymouth. I say they stole it, but you know.
What happened? The two that sank, that was an accident?
No, he figured out, because they were up on pylons, he must have used a crane or something to get it out, and it collapsed.
Oh my goodness.
What he did to move the last one, he had a Navy surplus landing craft, and he cut the pylons out in the middle, put the landing craft underneath it, and sunk it. And then lowered the house down on the landing craft, and then pumped the water out of it, and that raised
Floated
it back.
again.
It floated it again, and he was able to get it.
That's pretty clever, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was able to get it back in. If you were coming on board the lighthouse, there wouldn't be steps. We would be wet. You had to come by boat.
Really?
And there's a platform underneath that you could tie up to, and then there was a hatch that came up into the center.
To the bottom.
Uh-huh.
And where was it located?
It was 6 miles downriver,
Okay.
right at the mouth of the sound. I'll show you on a map.
All right.
Side. So we would be swimming up and crawling up, but this is the height that it sat in the water. So this is
Wow.
technically correct.
Uh-huh.
And then the light itself is positioned about 43 feet off the surface of the water. It was fifth power light. The big lighthouses out on the Outer Banks are to the first power. They shine about 40 miles. This one about 13 miles.
So where it was located before, is that where the sound is? We entered the Albemarle Sound. And it was kerosene until...
Whale oil first.
Mineral oil.
Whale oil.
Whale oil, yeah.
Kerosene, and then acetate gas.
Acetate gas, wow.
Never had electricity.
Never had electricity. Well, what turned the light, or did it turn?
Heat.
Oh, the heat turned it. Wow. And I bet the light keeper was busy all day cleaning stuff, wasn't he?
He had
Refilling
to
it?
take it down every day. Had to take the light apart, polish the lens. It had 5 wicks in it.
Uh-huh.
Had to trim all the wicks. Think of all the smut
Yeah, yeah.
that would produce. He had to clean it, reassemble it,
Uh-huh.
and then carry it back up top.
And then he had to take that oil up to the top too,
Take
didn't
the
he?
wool up to the top, fill it. It's a whole lot easier though than doing it at Nag's Head or some of the tall lighthouses.
Yeah.
There's only 30 steps going up here instead of 300. Let's go on forward.
Go ahead. Oh, thank you. Wow, look at this.
Welcome aboard.
This is nice.
The Lighthouse Keeping Service was its own branch of service. It wasn't connected to the Coast Guard originally. It wasn't connected to the Navy. They were a separate branch.
And it was called what?
The Lighthouse Service.
Lighthouse Service, okay.
Mm-hmm. In 1830, they petitioned Congress because of the commerce traffic that we had here in town or on the river for a lighthouse or light ship at that time. And here's a model of the light ship over here.
Uh-huh.
She was built up in Elizabeth City. We don't know exactly what she looked like. We do know it was a double M Roanoke River light ship.
Look at that light perched up at the top there now.
It was
They had to go up there every night and clean
no,
up?
it was a guillotine style. It was based on a French guillotine.
Oh, it dropped down.
It would drop down.
And don't stick your neck out,
You
huh?
didn't lose your neck on that one. Might lose a finger, but you didn't lose your neck. And they had to do the same thing. They had to take it apart, polish the ferrule lens, Fresnel lens is the right way to say it, and then reassemble it, fuel it, and then hoist it back up.
And it would stay there through thick and thin, storm and
Storm and
calm?
everything.
Yeah.
It was anchored out there. We have documentation of when it needed to be caulked, when it was painted, because they had to requisition Congress for the funds to be able to do it. It was, everything was, their records were detailed, and if you know, today we think of the bureaucracy and everything, but they had it back then just as well, but it was all handwritten. It wasn't
And
on
he had a
computer.
log, and he had a list of things they had to do daily, right?
Every day.
And he had a uniform. He looks like he's wearing his,
He is, and that's Mr. Clifton. He is the first keeper of the house.
uh-huh.
He was the assistant keeper on the lightship.
Oh, really?
So he goes way back,
Wow.
and the light keepers stayed in the Clifton family, and it was passed down from him to his son, to his grandson. And that is his grandson in the picture.
This one right here,
No, in the next one over,
this is his grandson.
that's his grandson, who was a lighthouse keeper. He's not in uniform because he took a conscientious objector. He was a Baptist preacher, and he didn't want to have to wear the uniform.
This is World War I.
He wore civilian clothes.
He looks like he's got his Bible in hand
He's
there.
got his Bible in hand.
Yeah. All right, we are right here.
We are the first position there.
Number one. Is this the living quarters here?
This would have been the living quarters and storage area. They would have had some storage over here, some of the oil and maintenance things, plus their food storage. There was a wood storehouse just on the other side of this wall, out on the deck. The bathrooms was a two-holer over on this side of the deck. So they had an outhouse here. There were 2 stoves. We can tell by the architectural plans because it showed the smokestacks, where the smokestacks were.
So they cooked with wood.
They cooked with wood, i.e. they burned down. Wood, fire, wood, water.
It happens, doesn't it?
It happens. So we've got the little kitchen set up over here.
Now, his family lived with him, right?
They did for a while. There was a drowning. One of the children drowned on this lighthouse.
Oh, my goodness.
And when that happened, they pulled the
family out.
families off.
So he would stay here for a week or two? Or
8
what?
days.
8 days.
Their shifts were 8-day shifts.
And
One of the stories is one of his predecessors, or one of his followers after he retired, had just gotten married. And so his wife said, "You're not going out, you're not leaving me here." So she would sneak out. And when the inspectors would come, they would kind of get a heads up that the inspectors were coming, and sometimes she sat on a stump out in the sound, waiting for the inspector to leave, but she wasn't going to leave her husband. A couple of the artifacts that are original to the first house is the trunk and the rocking chair. Those are
There's a
original
rocking
to
chair.
the Clifton family. And
Here's
they're
a
still
cooking
living
stove.
there. The family still lives here.
this is amazing.
You were talking about the difference in the lighthouses. Architecture did change. Here's the first house that we're standing in now.
Uh-huh. The first one. Look at that there on the river there.
And then on your left side is the last version of the lighthouse.
What, over here?
The
Oh,
cupola
that's-
has changed from the center to the side.
He's got there's a little boat room too.
And much steeper. That's a much steeper structure
Yes.
than what this one is.
Wow. Out there where the wind's blowing all the time too, huh?
All the time. If you like to go up to the second deck, we'll go up.
Okay.
Exactly as it would have been, the wood specifications. Joanna Gaines would love all the shiplap, but it's cut just exactly the way it would have been cut. There was a bell that sat outside this window on a foggy night or a foggy morning like we had this morning. They would wind the bell up, it ran on a clock mechanism, and it would strike every 15 seconds.
15 seconds.
It was a low pitch,
Uh-huh.
so the sound would carry. But you've got a light going on all night long and a bell ringing every 15 seconds. So you didn't sleep a whole lot on a foggy night. Plus you had to keep the light going.
Now, did you say this was living quarters here?
This would be their bedrooms.
Bedrooms,
Will be up
okay.
here. The final house, as you would see in Edenton, they were separated. Where these are more of a common room, they were actually doored off. Now, he may have done that after he took it on the land, but that's the way it's set up over there.
Look at that stubby little door right there.
Just storage.
Uh-huh.
There's just storage stuff under there. Now,
What
if you-
kind of wood is this thing made out of?
Cypress and cedar and pine.
That's what I thought. The pine's floor,
Part pine floor.
and the structure and the outside would probably be cypress and cedar.
Cypress and cedar.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so it lasts a long time until it burnt down.
Till it burns. If you like to go up top,
All right.
What was this reconstruction that's rapidly built?
2004.
Oh yeah, it's kind of warm up here.
Wait till July.
Downright hot. You're right about that.
I had a
What a
dragon.
view, huh?
I had a
Echo.
dragonfly fly in last July. He made one lap and collapsed. And I took him out. I set him outside and put him in the shade, and he finally came out.
You have to water them before they come up, don't you?
It's hot. It gets hot.
But look at this. This is a kind of a small light, isn't it?
This is a smaller light. This was a commissioned light, though.
It was?
When the lighthouse opened, the Coast Guard did come in commission.
Really?
And that's glass.
Mm-hmm. That's plastic.
Plastic?
Mm-hmm.
It's impossible to get another Fresnel lens, isn't it? Basically at this point. Were they like custom made?
They were custom made. The last Fresnel lens for this is at the courthouse in Edenton.
Okay.
It's not at the lighthouse.
It's a Fresnel lens.
Yeah, the real lens that was in that last house.
Now, did they come from France?
Mm-hmm. This has 4 lights in it, and it rotates. It's not a blinker. It has a rotating mechanism, and it blinks for half of a second, and it's 4.5 seconds in between the next light.
That's how you identify the location.
And is that unique to all of the lighthouses in the United States? Like you could look at this one, you should be able to say time it, and you should say that's the one that's down here in Plymouth,
Right.
correct? Okay,
Right.
that's too cool.
I was up at Cape Cod, and they have 3 lighthouses. One had the one in the middle had 3 lights. The one at the lower end of the arm, you know, the arm
Right.
sticking up, had 1 light, and the top one had 2 lights.
So
That's how you would identify where your location
Right.
was.
Right. These were more like traffic signals. The river lighthouses. The big lighthouses on the Outer Banks were more beacons. Long way, you know, so you could see where the land was. But these were more like traffic lights. About every 13, 15, 20 miles there was another lighthouse. So you could go from lighthouse to lighthouse. Yeah. This is the farthest inland
Uh-huh.
of a lighthouse. So, the river was hugely important. The reason they pulled the lightships off the river at the beginning of the Civil War is so the Union would have a harder time coming up. If it got to Weldon, they could break the railroad lines, which they never did. So the Confederates pulled all the lightships up. I read last week where they were towed up here in a chain up to Williamston and sunk to blockade the river.
Yes.
The Confederates then mined it. They used the
You mean from here north?
on farther up,
Uh-huh.
where Jamesville had mines on it. Williamston, the next town up from Jamesville, had mines. And as the Union tried to go up, they lost several ships.
I didn't know they had mines back in those days.
Oh yeah, I've got a copy of a Confederate percussion. I thought it was a water tank of some kind until I was educated on it, but it is a percussion. Pressure fires it. The Union mines, you had to pull the trigger on it. So you had to be close to it, you know? That's what sunk the Albemarle.
Nice view from up here.
It's a beautiful view. It's a beautiful, the river looks very tranquil. It's the fastest flowing coastal river of any of the North Carolina
The
rivers.
Roanoke River.
The Roanoke
I didn't
River.
know that.
This is just one finger. This is an island across from us. There's another channel of the river on the other side.
Oh, that way, over that,
Uh-huh.
on the north side.
And then another island and another channel. This opens up into a delta. It's a beautiful place to kayak.
I might take a ride on the
You
river
should.
one day.
I would go on Conaby Creek. There's a kayak launch
Uh-huh.
just on the other side of town
Uh-huh.
that takes you out into the delta. The current here,
It's pretty strong.
6 knots.
Wow. Yeah. Don't want to paddle against that.
You don't want to paddle against that for too long. So, you know, I'd stand here and look down the river and imagine the sloops that would have come upriver, the double paddle wheelers, the steamboats, and things that just amaze me.
How far upriver could they take heavy freight?
All the way up to Roanoke Rapids.
Really?
Then go through the locks at Roanoke Rapids
Wow.
and continue on. It's 410 miles. It took a month to float down, but you could come from the Virginia mountains down to Plymouth to load your tobacco on it.
Really? They could ship it from the mountains? Wow, I didn't know that.
I'm
It's
originally
because of the locks and canal
Up
there at Roanoke. I've been to that canal there.
that made it possible. They had to take it off and pull the boat by wagon around that to begin with until they built the locks.
Uh-huh.
But when they did that, then they could come all the way through.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That Phoenix is
Wow, this
fine.
guy's flying on that.
Yeah, Phoenix will do that. The old town, the courthouse is the white columns up on the hill.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the remaining Civil War houses are there, are up in that area. The house, you can just see the metal roof on it, the Peacock Amistad house. That's the remaining Civil War house.
And the one with the bullet holes in it.
One with the bullet holes up
Oh, I saw that this morning.
across the street from the Baptist church.
Yes.
The main Union fort was 4 blocks just straight ahead of us at Fort Williams.
Uh-huh.
Where the water tank is was Fort Comfort over there.
I went to that just now. Not much left of that, just
Not much left.
just a
Not much left.
little bit of dirt piled up.
There were other forts upriver,
Mm-hmm.
just a little bit. There's a creek that had another a gun redoubt out there, and then another fort that the Albemarle came by. So she's pretty well protected except from the water. And when the Albemarle came down, even with the gunboats that were here, they were no match for the Albemarle because she dispatched them pretty quick.
Mm-hmm. And it was amazing, they were working on that thing, it was coming down the river. And it was the 3rd largest battle in North Carolina, I heard. I read that.
Yeah. Second or third. I was told the second, but you know, I'm thinking you got Weiss Creek, you got the Battle of Newbern.
Did Bentonville and
Bentonville's
the big one.
Fort Fisher?
Bentonville's the
Fort Fisher was probably the biggest, or Bentonville.
Bentonville's
No,
easily the biggest. Yeah,
Bentonville.
easily. Yeah.
Yeah. Bentonville could have turned the tide of the war.
Yeah, if they could have
If they could
mustered
have,
a defense.
they got a quarter of a mile from capturing Sherman's headquarters. That's not far at all.
Wow.
That's not far at all. Bentonville is cool because the trenches are still there,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
private land.
You can actually see the headlocks still there, which is, I just blew my mind when I saw it.
Cross the river, you can cross the river right there.
Except for the
Just
foundation.
walk across it. And there were Confederate trench lines that ran through
Wow.
our yard and into our neighbors. That was the last line of defense while they were
Lighthouses in
going off
North
and set
Carolina
up
and Virginia.
on the hill so you could see out. And our house was
And a
built in the
wind-up
70s. It was
clock.
built then.
Pendulum.
The neighbors, he had just built his and see guys just built.
And a recliner, not a recliner, a
Oh, my God.
comfort chair.
Why would you do that? Goodness.
Yeah, you can metal detect here and just.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah. Yeah, I saw it at the Port Plymouth, they had much here, like this was dug up. That is too cool. That is too cool.
Here's where the river light sat.
Oh.
We're down here.
Okay, and this is the delta you're talking about.
Uh huh. This is the island
This
that's
is the
right in
island
front
here,
of
and
us.
there's a little branch going there. In one right. Well, that is kind of complicated, isn't it?
It's very complicated.
The main channel would be this one, though, right?
The main navigable channel
Yeah.
is here. But if you were brave and you knew how to do it, you still got good depth. You're 30 feet here in the corner. You know, the sound is relatively shallow going into it.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, we get, pretty good depths.
What is the average depth of Albemarle sand? Do you know?
They call it shallow. I'd say in the teens to mid 20s.
Uh-huh.
But I see tugs on it today. There's a little bit of commercial work on it, taking steel up to the steel plant.
So they could bring in an ocean-going vessel here?
No,
It's too shallow.
too shallow for that. The
So-
big sailboats, the big bridge, the 94 bridge is only 60 feet.
Uh-huh.
So a big sailboat can't come in.
Uh-huh.
Our bridge, the 45 bridge that cuts across through here today over to Mary Hill, it's only 50 feet. So that limits the size sailboat even more that can come in here. We're on the Albemarle Loop. We're one of the loop places. We're the farthest inland place on the Albemarle Loop, where you can come in and stay with us 4 or 5 days. We have water, electricity, and pump out. Enjoy the town. And
Now, what about, how did they get to ocean-going vessels? Would they come in to Virginia and go down the canal there?
no, the goods were taken up to a lot. Once the Dismal Swamp Canal was opened, you could, by barge or by ship, go over to Elizabeth City.
Oh, Elizabeth City?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they go up. The type of vessels that we had here, out of the 26, I added the tons up, it was 1,700 tons of shipping. The biggest one that we had was 157 ton, and they would be sloops or brigs. They could work. The sloop designs that were here were New Haven sloops, New Haven, Connecticut.
You mean built there, or the style,
The
after
styling
that
was
style?
from them. Their masts were tilted back
Yes.
just a little bit.
Uh-huh.
As they developed the coasting trade, and they would go down to the Bahamas and to the Caribbean, the sloops down there were built a little different to handle shallower water. So they adapted that to a Bahama sloop. And then that was brought back, and they started building those because it worked the shallower water of the Sound a little better. They were a little faster.
Uh-huh.
And the guys started tinkering with them, and they made Sharpies.
Sharpie?
A Sharpie, which is a sloop-based variant
Uh-huh.
that was in the Carolinas that were worked on the Sound. They were fast enough to be able to dredge for oysters because North Carolina produced a tremendous amount of oysters and shipped them all over the place. So the ships evolved based on their need, but all of our sloops here originally came from the designs from New Haven, Connecticut.
So if a ship was leaving here and going to the Caribbean, they would go through Oregon Inlet?
You could go to Oregon, that would be the fastest. If it were early and the inlets were still open, where's my other map? Look at this map over here.
Different inlets back in the
Yeah.
earlier days.
There were different inlets.
Oh, so
That
you
were
had
up
several
here.
points of access to the ocean then?
Right. And they were dredging them.
Oh, really?
So you could get out.
Uh-huh.
But you had to know what you were doing.
Yeah.
The easiest way to be go down to Ocracoke to Oregon Inlet or go down to Bath. I mean, not to Bath, but down to Beaufort and go out the main inlet
Uh-huh.
out there. Or if you
That's
were really
really
good,
interesting.
you could go out the hook down at Cape Lookout.
Yes.
Because there's a good inlet right there. That's treacherous right there at Morehead City. That's hard.
Changeable and shallow.
Ooh. Hard.
You better know what you're doing, huh?
You got to know what. Even today, you just don't go running out there.
Uh-huh.
You know.
And in those days, they didn't have sonar. They had to know. They used their own. It was like an art.
It was an art. I've got a lot of old sailing books, and that's one of the things that, for research, if you ever want to come and read on sailing or the history here, we have a research area at the museum where you can come in and study a little bit and learn how to tell how fast the wind's blowing by looking at a flag.
Wow.
They could do that.
Yeah.
You know, they could do that.
And you know the history of the commerce back and forth between the colonies and the Caribbean. A lot of people don't know about that.
Well, even in between colonies, we could trade as a colony with Virginia.
Uh-huh.
We didn't trade that much with South Carolina because the tariffs were so high. Each colony could set
At different
its
rates of tariff.
Yeah, and so South Carolina would kill us. It's just like today with Canada and the United States.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, if they could get around the tariffs, that's why you're shipping tobacco more fish bait. You know.
I didn't know that they had to ship, if they did it illegal, they would have to go to England first and then back. That's crazy, isn't
Nothing
it?
could be manufactured and sold here.
That's right.
Everything had to go through England and then come back.
That was more reason for the revolution, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Here in town, we had a winery, we had a pickle factory, multiple herring fisheries for catching herring and shad and salting them down. And pre-railroad days, it would be nothing in the spring to have a wagon train from the western part of the state, 100 wagon train coming down here to do one thing, buy salt fish.
Wow.
And take it back up. I asked my mother, I'm originally from Surrey and Wilkes County, and I asked my mother, did Grandpa ever get salt fish? She said, oh yeah, we just go to country store in Austin and buy them out of the barrel. It's here.
Wow.
This is
And so the route would go from here to where? Raleigh?
From here, probably they would stay higher, go up towards Rocky Mount and go up across the top, or even go to Virginia and come back down.
Uh-huh. Where'd you say you were from?
Surrey and Wilkes County.
Wilkes County, okay. So maybe it came by that way.
It could have. You got to stay off the river because it's hard to cross a river with a
But you know, they did have a plank road that went from Fayetteville
yes, they did.
back east,
And
back
then-
west.
And there were several plank roads.
Yeah,
There were several.
so
plank
that
roads.
might have been one too.
One of the things that made travel hard is that state government did not control road building in North Carolina.
So it was private enterprise.
Counties.
Oh, the counties.
Counties were responsible and the judges were responsible for laying out and building roads.
Uh-huh.
It was the court system.
That might have been a lucrative system of revenue for certain people, huh? Certain people in charge.
You said it, I didn't.
Just guessing, just speculating.
So you need a boat to get to Little Washington from here. It's easy to drive down 32. There was a 32s off of an Indian trail, but still had to cross swamps.
Uh-huh.
The easiest way was to get in your boat. It was the longest way, but it was the easiest way.
Uh-huh.
You traveled by boat. If you were over here at Somerset, you were at the plantation of Somerset.
Mm-hmm.
The Collins had a home in Edenton.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think they got to Edenton?
They went up that canal to the Scuppernong River, didn't
And then took one of their sloops over to Edenton.
they? Yeah.
That was the mode of transportation. When the railroad line came through in the late 1870s, we had two railroad lines that came into town, two separate train companies. They deadheaded at Mackey's Ferry, Kendrick Creek, up at Mackey's. They were put on a big double paddle wheel freight steamer, ferry, and taken over to Edenton and just rolled off, reconnected with an engine over there and up to Norfolk. It went.
And so this railroad spur that goes along the riverbank would go to Mackey's Ferry.
It would go to Mackey's Ferry.
I wonder where it went.
And you can still see it.
Uh-huh.
You can follow it.
Yeah, I walked on it this
Yeah.
morning. Or this afternoon.
Even out, going out by the. It doesn't run right on the sound bank, but pretty close.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm gonna walk around the porch. I don't know what this would have been right here. Maybe it's just a shelter.
A couple of weeks ago, you could see the old docks that ran back out.
We're on the sunny side now. Now this looks like a hatch. The original one that was in the water, you had to enter from a hatch beneath it. And this right here was known as the Necessity. And it was an outhouse that dropped down into the river. The only practical way, you didn't have to worry about the plumbing, just the cold air coming up.
We're going to have. We have two big. We have. Plymouth has a great event the first weekend in June. It's the National Black Bear Festival. If you're, do you still live here in the state? Mm-hmm. You got to come.
First weekend in June.
First weekend in June, there'll be about 40,000 people here.
Really? And they have a parade or something down there?
No, the whole town is just completely full. There are treks out to the wildlife refuge, and everybody's saying last year we saw 14 to 15 black bear every time we go out.
So they go down to Cypress Point or whatever they
No, just
Here.
About 20
Do they
minutes.
invite the bears to the festival?
No.
Put some food out and they'll come.
There's a couple stuffed ones that don't have an option of leaving. No, but you can get into bear. There's bear here in town. There's bear on the island. But you get down between Lake Phelps and the other Pecossin lakes around through there. You get the National Wildlife Area down in there. So there's bear. There's bear everywhere.
They have a habitat they can live in.
They do, and they don't hibernate.
They don't hibernate.
No, they're out.
Oh,
And
you're
they're
right.
kind of used to seeing people.
And is it true they're bigger than regular black bears elsewhere in the mountains?
There's a 900-pounder. Yeah,
That's grizzly size.
up in the Wildlife Museum in Bearology.
Wow.
I think she is about 980 pounds, something like that.
Goodness gracious.
It's a big bear.
Had no idea that it got that big.
It's a big bear.
That's huge. Now, I need to ask you again, when was this moved here?
This was built.
Oh, it's built.
This was built here.
Oh, it's built here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, it came from Edenton.
Yeah. Now, the house in Edenton is the last Roanoke River lighthouse.
Okay.
That's original. This is a reconstruction.
Oh, okay.
It was
On
opened
the-
in 2004.
2004. Well, it turned out to be a nice day,
It
didn't
is
it?
a beautiful day.
And the rockfish, when does that season start?
There's not one.
Oh, there's no season.
Rockfish or striped bass fishing on the Roanoke is 2 days. It's 1 day here and 1 day there. It's not like it used to be. This river was tremendous for stripers or rockfish. The states shut it down to try to get it to repopulate. The fishermen say there's plenty. The state says there's not enough, so it is shut down. The herring and shad are the same way. In the old days, people would come from all over the state up to Jamesville to eat at a couple of restaurants right on the river. They would be, between the time they were swimming and frying, they would still be flapping. Just instantly. Literally take a bow net or a bucket and stick it in the water and pull fish up with it.
They head for the kitchen there. Boy, that's fresh, isn't it?
Couldn't get any fresher. But that's all gone now.
Yeah.
That's all gone.
What is your name?
Mark Pardue.
Mark Purdue. Mark, it's been a pleasure. You're a great guide. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I just gave you a little thumbnail.
Well, that was good.
There's a lot of history here.
Yeah.
A lot of history. In June, the end of June, we're going to have a dedication for an Underground Railroad monument. We can go back as far as 1809.
Yeah.
With documented freedom seekers that came through here. Plymouth it was very unique to North Carolina. 13% of the population were freemen of color. It was a very open community. A lot of those and a lot of the enslaved blacks were boatmen and captains, and they were working on the water. So their freedom, they had a lot of freedom.
And they would take off up north, going up the Roanoke to, I guess they'd had a path there, or
Well,
what they call it?
what they were trying to do would be to get to Elizabeth City,
Oh, Elizabeth City.
to go northeast to Elizabeth City, get on the Dismal Swamp Canal, or get on a boat that's going to Philly, or to Boston, or to the Caribbean, or to England.
Wow.
Because they could be free once they did that. Once the Fugitive Slave Act was passed, it was a little tougher to find that instant freedom, but this was their road out. So.
Yeah, I was up at Halifax a couple years ago, and that was, a place where they would get on the river and sneak out of there.
Yeah. Well, if they're in Halifax, they have to come here.
Oh, they come down this way.
Yeah, because Halifax is upriver.
Yeah. That's right. They wouldn't be going upriver, would they?
They would have to pass through here.
Yeah.
The town was lined. The docks and the wharfs and the warehouses. One of the two train stations sat right here. It was a passenger terminal and a freight terminal. Before that, it was a water-powered gristmill that sat here. It's neat here to see off the fire maps how the town evolved. What was here, what was developed. Every 5 years they would come in and resurvey it.
Yeah.
And to see what was here. It's like where the First Baptist Church is, where I go to church. It was originally 3 blocks over, and that was a hotel that sat on that corner, a big hotel.
Wow.
That sat on that corner.
It probably burned down.
I don't know. It probably could have.
That was the fate of a lot of those old wooden hotels, huge ones.
And it was a big one.
Yeah.
We used to have a traveling theater that would come by a river.
Uh-huh.
The movie Showboat.
Was Showboat based on that? I remember reading that.
Yeah. And she was here. She would come up
Edna
here.
Ferber, the author.
Yep. Yeah.
That's amazing, isn't it?
It's,
And what kind of boat is that over there?
that's That's
Houseboat?
just been launched. Yeah, it's a little houseboat that Lou Mandarin built. It's on a pontoon boat. It's got a little head. It's got a little kitchen in it.
Uh-huh.
And he said, when I get tired of Jill, I hop on the boat and just go out.
It's a little shanty boat.
He's just a little shanty boat.
Wow,
He just has put it in the water this week.
that's pretty neat. You could go out for a couple of days or a week and just hang out. And
Well, one of the things you can do here is on the Roanoke River Trail, there are platforms up the river where you can kayak to and camp above the river. And there's a whole trail from here to Jamesville and Williamston.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out.
A lot of people will do that during Bear Festival so they can have easy access to the to the fireworks when we have fireworks at night.
Wow,
So
that sounds pretty spectacular. I may have to check that out.
Is it the first week in June?
first weekend in June.